You remember back in the good old days when the biggest scandal you were apt to see coming out of the Olympics was an envious trailer park girl hiring some muscle to take a pipe to the leg of a fellow figure skater? Well, I mean, let's face it, politics has always infested the Olympics to one degree or another. You don't pull all the major nations on Earth into one spot and expect nothing to get brought up. But this go round, we're playing the Winter Games in China, land of the fettered and home of the bereft, with a string of human rights violations longer than the Great Wall and a penchant for domination and subjection that definitely has the Taiwanese worried and ought to have the rest of us worried as well. Now, China seems like the perfect place to set your let's all gather around, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya games, if you want controversy. Enter into the picture J.A. Adonde, the director of sports journalism at Northwestern University's Medill School. And in case you weren't aware of this singular fact, please take note that the very highest and most well-informed subset of journalists are those who follow, write about, and most certainly pleasure themselves privately to the wild world of sports. This man's bona fides need hardly be brought up, so he's so credible. Listen to me, folks. In commenting on the oppression and, let's be honest, genocide against the Uyghurs, he had this to say. You ready? He said, "Who are we to criticize China's human rights records when we have ongoing attacks by the agents of the state against unarmed citizens, and we've got assaults on the voting rights of our people of color in various states in this country?" Listen, congratulations, J.A. Adonde. You get the gold medal for moronic things said while wearing the journalism hat. Now, I hardly need to spell out for you the obvious apples to oranges nature of what he's saying, much less the inaccuracy of what he's saying. But what the hell, dude? I mean, it's always just... First of all, let's dispense with the voting rights thing. It's not true, plain and simple. I don't care what clot of mistruth you've ingested while sucking at the teat of the mainstream media. The notion of the whole voter thing, simply untrue. But let's go out on an extreme limb for a moment and assume that you're right. Can you honestly put this in the same category as genocidal behavior toward a group of fellow human beings? Now, it seems like a bad look to me, but what do I know? I'm just a dude who wears a cowboy hat and talks on TV. Now, the other comparison he's making seems to be a thinly veiled reference to the notion that cops are killing black people in America, almost like it's a hobby. Now, that's the same idea of systemic racism in policing that led to a lot of defund the police madness over the past couple of years. Now, again, it's statistically disproven, but who wants to live in reality when you can swallow the party line instead? So let's dispense with the pleasantries and deal with the situation on the ground. The United States has its share of problems, always has, and it always will. You know why? Because we're people. We'll never be a utopia, no matter how hard we strive toward the protection. While this shining city on a hill has its flaws, there's absolutely no comparison that holds any water whatsoever of our demerits to those of the Chinese Communist government in power. So whenever you see some quote-unquote journalist drag out a line like this, it's pretty good bet you know where his bread gets buttered. So in closing, yes, I know that Trump said something similar when he was asked about Russia and Putin a few years ago. We kill people too. And guess what? I don't think that was the right response then either. There is simply no comparison between the failings of the United States in the past century and those of regimes which have aggregately killed over 100 million people. I'm sorry, folks, but that is just BS. Oh,